SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive.
Middle of the week, good morning. Welcome. What's up? Hope your day's off to a good start. Bet the coffee tastes good this morning on a chilly day across the state of Mississippi to start things out. Today, December 3rd, 2025. If you've got one of those countdown calendars where you open up a Hershey Kiss each day or you open the little window to the house on the calendar, 22 days until Christmas. It is getting here quickly. This is Mornings with Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us. C-Spire text line is open to you. Number is 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Last night, a big celebration for C-Spire. Presentation of the 30th annual Conerly Trophy, the C-Spire Conerly Trophy. C-Spire has been with the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame since the day that it opened its doors 30 years ago, and they've been the presenting sponsor of the Conerly Trophy. We'll tell you about that coming up in just a little bit. A couple of new awards as well. A really good night last night at the Mississippi Sports Hall of Fame. I'm Richard Cross, Lance Tolbert in the studio. Good morning, Lance.
Buenos dias. It's nice
What's up,
and nippy out there. It feels good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of warm by midday, though, so about in the mid-50s or something. Yeah.
Okay.
In a lot of spots, so
yeah,
a 20-degree shift there. That'll test your immune system this time of year if it hadn't been tested yet.
Yeah, if you don't have a little bit of drainage or a little bit of cough or sneeze, congratulations. You have the, just Lance's words, the immune system that is incredible. Just incredible. And I love the people that are like, well, changing of the climate doesn't really have anything to do with your allergies. Yeah, okay. I missed that day of med school. What's it going to be like across the state today? Tupelo, you've got sunshine along with some cloudy intervals throughout the day. You're not going to be in those mid-50s, only a high of 47 today with winds light and variable. That's, of course, in North Mississippi. Macon, eastern part of the state, you're going to be up to 50, partly cloudy. Winds just breezy for you, not bad at all. Farther south you go, the warmer it gets. Columbia, Mississippi, sunshine and clouds mixed. 58 degrees for the high today with winds light and variable. And then in Loosedale, southeast Mississippi, partly cloudy skies, 56 degrees for your high, light and variable winds as well. So yesterday you had that north wind that was kind of covering the state and blowing pretty good most of the day. Not so much today. Just a decent, pleasant, early December day. I was fascinated by this. Made me think a little bit last night. Rowland Hill was born on this day in 1795. He was the English inventor who introduced the first adhesive postage stamp in 1840. He was born in Kidderminster, Worcester, England. What did you do before there was adhesive? It has never occurred to me that stamps didn't always have an adhesive on the back. Lance, you're a guy with a
glue.
Wide, okay.
Glue
you just
or
glued
wax.
It to the envelope.
I think it was glue or wax or hot wax, yeah.
Well, wax you would use to seal the envelope. I wouldn't think you would put the stamp on with wax.
No, I'm just saying, I think that there were probably one or two options, and it was some type of glue that they would slap on there or something they had been using for generations, I think it was. That's a good question. I'm not quite sure.
The evolution of the attachment of a stamp from glue to adhesive to a sticker. I mean, I guess you still have the stamps you lick that are out there.
Oh, are there?
Maybe. But that's
probably
gone away.
A class action lawsuit against those things for flavor.
Well, pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's like, has anybody got the slightly damp sponge that I saw somebody use? I don't want to lick these things.
Man.
The worst was when we were sending out Christmas cards. Jane would be like, hey, you help me get stamps on these? Yeah, sure. Oh, wait, you don't have the kind that have sticky on them already? I got to lick these? Oh.
They could have, I mean, if you want to sell a lot of stamps, they could have been like cheeseburger flavorings and all kinds of pizza, taco.
Yeah, can I get milkshake stamps? We don't have milkshakes. No, I'm not talking about the design on them. I'm talking about the flavor on the back.
Little scratch and sniffs.
Andy Williams was born in 1927, the American pop singer Moon River, Days of Wine and Roses, and perhaps most famously, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Former American auto racer Bobby Allison was born on this day in 1937, won the Winston Cup in 1983. He was a three-time Daytona 500 champion, 1978, 1982, and then again in 1988, born in Miami, Florida. Rock legend and frontman for Black Sabbath, Ozzy Osbourne, born on this day in 1948. Born in 1985, young lady. Amanda Seyfried, American actress, starred in both Les Miserables and Mamma Mia, two of Lance's absolute favorites.
You got it. Oh,
I said you had to pick one. You going Les Mis or Mamma Mia?
Oh, definitely Les Mis. Yeah.
Okay. You don't want to be a dancing queen?
No, not really. I'm not, like I told you, I don't have a lot of dance skills.
Yeah, but you can sing.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Julianne Moore, also born on this day in 1960. Some interesting things happened on this day, December the 3rd. 1910, you had the first public demonstration of neon lighting. Georges Claude displays neon lights at the Paris Motor Show, sparking the future of neon signage. You thought about a world without neon? This day in 1947, A Streetcar Named Desire premieres. It was Tennessee Williams' iconic play, debuted on Broadway, starring Marlon Brando and Jessica Tandy.
Stella!
1954, Roger Bannister was named Sports Illustrated's very first Sportsman of the Year. Sir Roger Gilbert Bannister was an English neurologist and a middle-distance athlete who ran the first sub-4-minute mile. The 1952 Olympics in Helsinki, Bannister set a British record in the 1,500 meters, finished in fourth place. The achievement strengthened his resolve to become the first athlete to finish the mile in under 4 minutes. He accomplished the feat on May 6th, 1954 at Iffley Road Track in Oxford. Not Oxford, Mississippi. With Chris Chataway and Chris Brasher providing the pacing, when the announcer Norris McWhirter declared the time was 3, the cheers of the crowd drowned out the exact time, which turned out to be 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds. He'd attained the record with minimal training while practicing as a junior doctor. It was not a long-lived accomplishment, though. Roger Bannister's record lasted just 46 days. Hope you enjoyed the month and a half. And now a sub-4-minute mile. What? Certainly not easy, but far more common.
Yeah, and that guy was doing it in his part-time. Back then, those guys were, you had to be a doctor or a lawyer, like we had here in the United States with many golfers. They played pro golf, but they had to have a day job,
Yeah. Nobody was paying you to run up and down the street.
Yeah.
1967, the first successful human heart transplant happened in Cape Town, South Africa. It was performed by Dr. Christian Barnard. 1968, Elvis Presley's comeback special aired on NBC, reestablishing Elvis as a dominant performer. 1979, the WHO confirmed the global eradication of smallpox. It was one of humanity's greatest medical victories, at least it was at the time. 1989, George H.W. Bush met Mikhail Gorbachev at the Malta summit, the two leaders declaring that the Cold War was effectively over. That Cold War lasted a while. When you think Cuban Missile Crisis in the 60s and you're at the end of the 80s.
Yeah, it ratcheted up through the 50s and didn't come back down until the late 80s. So the Red Scare.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall.
Malta sounds like a place where you'd have like a good beer, nice lunch, and solve the world's problems.
Yeah.
Some of those names of those places are rough, though.
Like what?
Well, I mean, some of the places, if you read like some of the treaties over the years, it doesn't sound like they're going to last. You know, Malta sounds like a word.
Like Malta and Versailles. Good places to go for a treaty. We'll take a time out. We'll hit a few more things that happened on this day, then get into some news headlines with you next. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Rooted in our community, communitybank.net.
He ain't trying to change nobody. He's just trying real hard to adjust.
From the Venable Glass.
Ready. Mornings with Richard Cross.
People want to hear the truth, man. That's what we're going to do.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
My transistor radio comes from far away. And when it's night over here, over there, it's breaking day. I remember all the good times I had walking in the sand with the beautiful girl that I met made in Japan.
Yeah, sometimes you don't really know what a story is, but you just see a quote from it and you're like, ooh, I'm intrigued. I am not familiar with Eric Swalwell's latest accusation against the director of the FBI, but I see this clip and I am intrigued. Responding to a report that he refused to get off a plane in Utah the day after Charlie Kirk's assassination, Kash Patel said, I'd just been at ground zero on 9/11, then flew straight to Utah to lead a 33-hour manhunt after Charlie Kirk was shot. My agents handed me the jacket and a SWAT badge. I wore them with pride. If Erik Swalwell wants to talk about what size jacket I wear, I'm happy to send him a women's medium so he and Fang Fang can go out again. I guess I need to learn more about this story. And I mean, go figure, Erik Swalwell just makes something up and tries to take a shot at somebody that has no basis in fact. Never could have imagined that. December 3rd, 1989, the day that The Simpsons debuted as a TV series promo. The full premiere was a couple of weeks later on December 17th, but that first episode previewed on December 3rd. Today, in 1992, the world changed forever. The world's first text message is sent by engineer Neil Papworth to an executive at Vodafone. Do you know what the first text message ever sent was? What was the first message? I wish this was like a trivia and we had something to give away.
Pretty good one.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Very first SMS text message.
It's pretty impressive. 92, too. I mean, that's a long time ago. Vodafone.
Yeah.
Company's still around, actually. I think like mid-80s, they were kind of something else, like Rakel something or other, if I remember. But they've had that's something you put up on the plaque there. Yeah, first SMS. We did that.
Pretty cool. Come a long way, except Lance's texts still have green bubbles around them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Sony released the first PlayStation, redefining home gaming on this day in 1994.
Man, I broke a bunch of those controllers.
Oh, the old temper came out?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Sonic the Hedgehog just made you angry?
No, it was sports games, man. Yeah. Those are the ones that you had to crush a controller on when your buddy beat you in football or something.
Yeah. I remember throwing the gun from Nintendo prior to the PlayStation. Stupid dog would come out and laugh at you if you missed a duck.
Yeah. That was a great game, though. I loved it.
Yeah. 1999, kind of an oops for NASA. They lost contact with the Mars polar lander. Probably wanted to keep up with that. And finally, in 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy, one of the largest corporate scandals in United States history. That is a wild story.
Yeah, the smartest guys in the room. That's a great documentary. For those of you who haven't seen it, if you have, I watch it every blue moon just to refresh my memory on how crazy that was.
Book's pretty good, too.
You know, and what was it, Kenneth Lay? I mean, he was on the short list to be like an extremely high-level cabinet member.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was they were the golden child. And they weren't.
Spun out of control. All right, some news headlines for you this morning. The Sojourn 250, an American flag set to fly in every state and territory before next July 4th, was raised above the Mississippi governor's mansion on Monday afternoon. The flags trekked through the U.S. as part of the official semi-quincentennial celebrations honoring the incoming 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence being signed. On site to welcome the flag, Governor Tate Reeves and First Lady Reeves. She is co-chair of the America 250 Mississippi Commission. The First Lady, among others, has been charged with spearheading grants, educational programming, and statewide events to honor Mississippi's contributions to the American story. Grant money has already begun to be dished out for local patriotic events, and more is in the works, according to both she and the governor. So far, that flag, the Sojourn 250, has been flown at multiple U.S. military cemeteries in Guam, Indiana, and Washington, D.C. After its brief stint in Mississippi, it is now en route to the natural state, Arkansas. I don't know what the path is, how they decided the order, why the particular order would be Indiana, D.C., and then Mississippi, but I'm sure somebody had a plan on that. The final 2 seats of an election year in Mississippi that included 17 legislative seats on the ballots were decided last night. Justin Pope and Kamisha Mumford voted into office in Senate Districts 24 and 26, respectively. Now, Pope will represent portions of LaFleur, Panola, and Tallahatchie counties, taking over for the retiring David Jordan, who spent over 3 decades in the state capitol. Pope is a corporate deputy with Progressive Health Group, a company focused on rejuvenating rural hospitals. His platform included improving health care and access to it, strengthening the public education system, and creating economic growth. Pope defeated Carissia Brown, a retired educator. He got 54% of the vote, give or take. Kelly Bennett will be along a little bit later this morning. We'll talk about all of the election results with her. Mumford was elected successor to now Jackson Mayor John Horn, another veteran senator who departed from the Capitol during the offseason. She will represent a district that includes parts of Jackson, Ridgeland, Edwards, Bolton, and other areas of Hinds and Madison counties, making for a district that she believes is integral to the state's overall success. Mumford defeated Letitia Johnson, an attorney and former president of the Jackson Public Schools Board of Trustees. Mumford with roughly 56% of the vote. Tuesday's runoffs capped off a cycle that saw 14 seats in the House and Senate go up for grabs after a federal panel of judges ordered lawmakers to redraw the districts in areas of the state where black voting power was being diluted. 3 additional seats, 2 of which were the ones won by Pope and Mumford, were left vacant by members who left before their terms were up. Mississippi has secured yet another major economic development project $316 million going to a terminal facility in Pascagoula. MDA announced on Tuesday that bulk liquid storage and logistics services provided by BWC Terminals, which already has a footprint in the area, is locating its newest facility in Jackson County. The project is expected to create 25 new jobs. BWC Terminals serves a variety of industries, including the refining, manufacturing, and distribution of petroleum, chemicals, and agricultural products. They also provide a range of additional services, custom-built tanks, storage, blending, specialized logistics. Governor Tate Reeves said Mississippi is closing out another historic year with another massive capital investment in our state. This $316 million project is a major win for the Gulf Coast, and it's helping continue our state's record-breaking economic momentum. The Pascagoula Terminal, which will be located at the site of the former Mississippi Phosphates Corporation facility, is being built and operated to support an agreement with Chevron to receive, store, and deliver petroleum products for the oil giant's nearby Pascagoula refinery. And finally, in your news headlines this morning, the man who killed former University of Mississippi student Jimmy J. Lee headed to the clink. Going to spend 40 years in prison. Timothy Harrington handed his sentence yesterday in the Lafayette County Courthouse. On Monday, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder and tampering with evidence charges before a full retrial could be carried out. The guilty plea came hours after jurors were selected. In Madison County, they were going to be transported to Lafayette County for the second trial. Harrington was given 40 years with 10 suspended for the murder charge and then had 10 tacked on for the evidence tampering charge, leaving him to spend 4 decades behind bars. Jay Lee went missing on July 8th of 2022, weeks into his disappearance. Harrington was arrested and charged with killing him. According to prosecutors, Harrington murdered Lee, a member of Oxford's LGBTQ plus community, to conceal a romantic relationship that the two were having. Those are your news headlines. This is Mornings with Richard Cross.
From the Seabrook.com
at SuperTalk.fm. With information and insight. Check it out. Mornings with Richard Cross. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Feels like a departure from our normal Wednesdays, but I think I'm on board with it. Is this the beginning of the blending of and transitioning to some Christmas music along the way?
Oh, definitely. Got to start somewhere, right? And nothing better than the hump day to do that.
There you go.
Darlene
days out.
That's one of the best, too. Darlene loves Christmas. I don't know. That's one of my favorites. She kind of winds it up so well.
Yeah, she does. She does that. Time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Pearl River Resort is the home of casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Great dining options. Philip M's, Mama and M. You got the sports book inside Timeout Lounge. You've got Dancing Rabbit Golf Club. You've got the gaming floor with regular poker tournaments. So much going on. Check them out online, pearlriverresort.com. The Conerly Trophy goes to an Ole Miss player for the second straight year and the fifth time in the last 6 years, when last night Trinidad Chambliss was named the top college football player in Mississippi. 3,016 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions, 470 on the ground, and 6 scores. The 30th annual C Spire Conerly Trophy In a ceremony that saw the addition of a couple of new awards, the SWAC Impact Award and the Division II-III Excellence Award added to the festivities. The SWAC Impact Award went to Jacobian Morgan of Jackson State after tossing 1,175 yards and 10 touchdowns while only coughing it up to the other team twice all year. He wins the inaugural SWAC Impact Award. The D2, D3 Excellence Award goes to William Carter IV. 59 tackles, 1.5 sacks, couple of fumble recoveries, force for the Delta State defense that had their season come to kind of a controversial end. You may remember that story where their last opponent decided not to play them. That opponent got into the playoffs, and Delta State was left sitting at home. Tough pill to swallow at the end of the year for Todd Cooley and his squad.
Yeah, boo, Kentucky State.
Boo, Kentucky State. My book, they're losers. Not willing to play, you're losers. New college football playoff rankings last night had Ole Miss fans holding their collective breath. The results? Pretty darn good. Ohio State remains number one, where they have been since the rankings began, with Indiana one spot behind them. Those two teams will meet in the Big Ten championship game this weekend, both at 12-0. Number 3, Georgia, up a spot this week. Texas Tech moves up a spot to number 4. Oregon up 1 to number 5, and Ole Miss up 1 to number 6. Texas A&M, first team to drop. They dropped 4 spots after losing at home on Black Friday night to their in-state rival Texas. The Aggies still would host in College Station. Then you've got Oklahoma at number 8. Stayed put from where they were a week before. Alabama jumped Notre Dame after the Crimson Tide beat Auburn. Notre Dame fell 1 spot to number 10, followed by BYU and Miami. Other SEC teams in the ranking, Texas at 13, Vanderbilt at 14. Both of those teams most likely on the outside looking in. That's especially disappointing for a Vanderbilt team that had its best season in school history. Had only 2 losses this year. They were to Texas and Alabama. And yet, not going to get in, it appears. We're getting closer to the bracket looking like it might actually look for the first round of playoffs. If you need a quick refresher, here you go. The top 5 ranked conference champions, regardless of conference, get automatic berths into the field. It is a 12-team playoff. The top 4 seeds, which are the 4 highest-ranked teams in the final poll, changed from a year ago, get a bye to the quarterfinals, the second round. The teams that are ranked 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th will host a game on their campus, the 5 seed hosting the 12, the 6 seed hosting the 11, the 7, the 10, and the 8 against the 9. As it stands right now, Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, and Texas would get a bye to the quarterfinals as the top 4 teams. Oregon, the 5 seed, would host conference champion number 5. We don't know who that is. The winner of that game would take on Texas Tech. Alabama would play Oklahoma in Norman. Ole Miss would host conference champion number 4. And Texas A&M would host Notre Dame. Now, the reason those teams aren't identified is we don't know who they are going to be yet. And here's the crazy thing. The ACC championship game is between Duke and Virginia. If Duke wins that game, they will not be one of the highest-ranked conference champions. Duke is 7-5 on the year, but they will not play in the playoff because they won't be one of the 5 highest-ranked conference champions. The champion of the Sun Belt, James Madison, could finish ahead of them. Champion of the Mountain West, UNLV, could finish ahead of them. The American champion, be it Tulane or North Texas, will finish ahead of them. And so there is a scenario where you could have 2 smaller conference champions ranked higher than the ACC champion if Duke wins over Virginia. Is Ole Miss locked in at number 6? Probably, unless Alabama beats Georgia in the SEC championship game, in which case you might see Ole Miss drop a spot, Alabama vaulting over them, putting Ole Miss in a 7 seed. And if that happens, instead of hosting Virginia or North Texas or UNLV or someone like that, then they would likely be hosting Notre Dame or Oklahoma or someone along those lines. So, big advantage for being the 5 or the 6. All right, from football to basketball, the SEC ACC Challenge got started last night. Big night for the ACC. Duke wins over Florida by 1, 67-66. Syracuse beats Tennessee by 2 at home. North Carolina, a 3-point winner on the road against Kentucky. Virginia Tech beat South Carolina by 3 in overtime. A lot of close games. Oklahoma, pretty good winner over Wake Forest, 86-68. Pittsburgh a winner, Texas A&M a winner at Pittsburgh. Georgia big over Florida State, 107-73. And then Ole Miss got popped last night. Punched in the mouth by the Miami Hurricanes. Rebels fall to 5-3. They've lost 3 games in a row. And afterward, Chris Beard was not pleased with the effort. Beard and Ole Miss player A.J. Storr were meeting with the media. A.J. Storr was asked, hey, how do you guys get better effort? And, just take a listen.
How do you fix lack of effort? It seems pretty obvious, but, is that something you can foster as teammates and stuff? Or, how do you develop that urgency, I suppose?
You can't really do too much.
Yeah, we can. We can play different players. Yeah. We can play different players. That's what we did in the second half, where we won the second half by 7 points. We can play different players. We can fix effort, and it will be fixed.
Chris Beard was not interested in the answer that his player had to that question, especially when it started, well, there's not a whole lot. Oh, yes, there is. Okay. That was post-game press conference last night. One more story for you here. Braylon Womack, the top high school safety and the number 2 overall prospect in Mississippi, flipped from Auburn to Mississippi State on Monday. The 5-star from Hartfield Academy made the announcement to stay in state on Monday. Went to social media. He wrote, "I'm home," paired with a dog and a house emoji. Mississippi State's recruiting class ranking jumped 16 spots from 46 to 30 with that one commitment. Today is National Signing Day. We'll see how everything turns out, not just for Mississippi State, but for all the schools that we follow here in Mississippi. That's your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort.
From the Venable Glass.
The news you need.
Every 10, 15 minutes, there's something.
The talk you love.
To really talk about the things that matter. I'm into all that stuff.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Lance, I'm feeling it. I'm going to be with you tomorrow morning.
Fantastic.
But I'm going to be $362,500,000 richer when I join you.
I love it. Yeah.
Just giving you a heads up.
Well, if that's the case, I'll have my loan documents ready for you to sign as you get into the office tomorrow.
Well, I'm not going to tell you that I won yet.
Okay.
I mean,
you let it sink in.
Eventually there will be signs, but I'm going to keep it a little low-key for a while. I just want you to know in advance it's going to happen.
Excellent. Well, I'll laminate those documents.
Yeah, just hold on to them. $775 million, that's the Powerball jackpot tonight with an estimated cash value of $362,500,000. Monday night's numbers were 5, 18, 26, 47, 59 with a Powerball of 1. After taxes and all the things that you have to do with that big old Powerball jackpot, you take home about $220 million, give or take. Think you could make that work for a little while. There was a jackpot winner on Mega Millions. The old small jackpot winner. Congratulations, though. Not that anybody would turn away winning the $90 million jackpot. We're just used to seeing that thing at $900 million or so when it is won. Single ticket sold in New Jersey won Tuesday night's estimated $90 million jackpot. Cash value on that was $41.9 million. So that person will walk away with $20, $25 million. I would say life-changing money. Estimated jackpot for the upcoming Friday drawing back to $50 million. Mississippi Lottery ringing in December with 3 brand-new scratch-off games available at retailers right now. You have the $1 Quick Sevens with top prizes of $7,000. The $2 Winners Galore with top prizes of $25K. And then don't miss the $5 Double the Money, featuring top prizes of $100,000 and even more ways to multiply your winnings. Check them out at your local Mississippi Lottery retailer. That's your Mississippi Lottery update. Find them online at mslottery.com. And don't forget about the new Mississippi Lottery app. Easy way to check your numbers. Got a good lineup of guests coming up this morning. Kelly Bennett from the SuperTalk Mississippi News team will join us at 7:30. She will break down the election results and the races that were on the ballot yesterday across the state of Mississippi. At 8 o'clock this morning, at 8 o'clock this morning, Ole Miss Athletics Director Keith Carter will join the conversation. We'll talk to him about the process of hiring Pete Golding as the new football coach at Ole Miss, when he made that decision, how did it go down? We might play a little game of truth or fiction, because there are a lot of people that think that there was a lot of fiction that was directed toward Ole Miss in Lane Kiffin's opening press conference. Talk a little bit about the media strategy being engaged by Ole Miss, his thoughts of the college football playoff rankings, what the ticketing process is going to be for a home playoff game, and I'm sure more. That's all coming up 8 o'clock this morning. And then at 8:30, Erik Skaggs will join us. Erik Skaggs is president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing Mississippi. They are adding the hybrid Toyota Corolla to the line at the plant in Blue Springs, and we will look forward to that visit with Erik as we get kind of a snapshot of what the auto industry is looking like in general, and then also what's going on at Toyota in Blue Springs. All of that coming up this morning on Mornings with Richard Cross. Appreciate you being with us to start the day. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams, whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business. We're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community. Member FDIC. C-Spire text line is open at 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. 4395. Oh, I got one more story for you this morning, Lance. I'll give it to you an hour from right now. Gonna make you wait.
Okay.
The headline from the Associated Press: Raccoon goes on drunken rampage in Virginia liquor store.
I'm in. Yeah,
and passes out on the bathroom floor.
You teased it perfectly, man. That's my kind of story.
1 hour from right now. Right now, though, we will take a time out. We've got the news for you from the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, from Fox, and a whole lot more. Then we're back with the 7 o'clock hour. Thanks for spending part of your day, part of the start of your day with us on Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Coffee, conversations, and clarity. What a great way to start your Mississippi day. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
7 o'clock hour. Good morning to you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi. Appreciate you spending part of the start of your day with us. It's chilly outside. I'm going to grab a jacket on the way out the door. Maybe not be quite as cold as it was just a day ago. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community. CommunityBank.net. The C Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. Again, 601-879-4395. So much going on at C Spire. You can check out their website, cspire.com, to see the latest deals for you. Also learn about their business services, not just wireless, not just fiber to the internet, but an incredible business technology team that can help your business excel. Check it out online. cspire.com, C-Spire, customer inspired. Thomas, I thought he was asking about a story that we were going to get to in just a little while. Instead, he was actually just asking about the appearance of one of the characters in the story. We'll come back to that coming up just in a bit. Saving the drunk raccoon story right before your discussion with Keith Carter on Kiffin. Oh, the irony. Yeah. Oh, yeah. President Trump's latest target appears to be the state of Minnesota. Harsh words and perhaps some strong policies on the way regarding the large Somali community in the state of Minnesota. And, oh, by the way, the governor of Minnesota is none other than Spirit Fingers Tim Walz. Recent statements by the president and top administration officials disparaging Minnesota's large Somali community have focused renewed attention on the immigrants from the war-torn East African country and their descendants. Trump yesterday said that he did not want Somalis in the U.S. because they contribute nothing, quote unquote. The president spoke soon after a person familiar with the planning said federal authorities are preparing a targeted immigration enforcement operation in Minnesota that would primarily focus on the Somali immigrants living unlawfully in the U.S. What do we need to know? Just a couple of thoughts before we even kind of move forward in this. The unlawful part of it is a massive problem. The alleged fraud allegations, a massive problem. Brothers marrying sisters for the sake of citizenship status. Huge problem. All Somalis need to be gone from the United States because they contribute nothing. Come on. That's painting with too large a brush. It's an unfair sentiment. Why is it so hard to say those who are here legally and contributing to our country are welcome? Those who are breaking the law, those who are here illegally, we got a problem, and we're about to root out the problem. But it's not how he operates. That's okay. So here's what we need to know about the Somalis in Minnesota. An estimated more than 250,000, 260,000 people of Somali descent were living in the United States in 2024, according to the census. The largest population is in the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, about 84,000 of them, most of whom are American citizens. Ohio, Washington, and California also have significant Somali populations. Almost 58% of the Somalis in Minnesota were born in the U.S. Of the foreign-born Somalis in Minnesota, an overwhelming majority are naturalized citizens. Almost half entered the United States in 2010 or later, many of them fleeing the long civil war in their East African country. Trump has become increasingly focused in recent weeks on Somalis living in the United States, saying that they have, quote, caused a lot of trouble. Scott Bessent, Treasury Secretary, said that his agency is investigating whether hardworking Minnesotans' tax dollars may have been diverted to the terrorist organization. He's talking about the militant group Al-Shabaab, an affiliate of Al-Qaeda that controls parts of rural Somalia and often has targeted the capital of Mogadishu. Little evidence has emerged so far to prove a link to Al-Shabaab. Federal prosecutors have not charged any of the dozens of defendants in recent public program fraud cases in Minnesota with providing material support to foreign terrorist organizations. The larger issue here, and you may or may not have seen this story a couple of weeks ago, was the COVID fraud allegation, the COVID fraud operation that appears to have not only been happening, but being propped up in the Somali community and celebrated to the tune of ripping the United States off of a couple of $2 billion. Trump said that he was terminating temporary protected status for Somali migrants in Minnesota, a legal safeguard against deportation. A report produced for Congress in August put the number of Somalis covered by the program at only 705 people, so not a significant number that will be affected there. But you did get immediate pushback, including from local Somali community leaders, as well as allies like Governor Tim Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey. They have also pushed back against those who might blame the broader Somali community for some recent cases of massive fraud in public programs. The Feeding Our Future scandal, the COVID-19 related fraud case. Maybe this is a big deal to you, maybe it isn't. Here's the question that I'm left with. And this is not related to Minneapolis, and it's not exclusive to Minneapolis. It's not exclusive to Minnesota. Why is it that so many leaders, almost always Democrats, are so quick to take the side of and to come to the defense of any group that is not American? Maybe you're tired of Trump targeting other groups, making statements like, I don't want any Somalis here, they don't contribute anything to society. But Donald Trump, not to sound all like campaign slogan-y, every decision that he has made, I think, has been with the idea of putting America first. Why is it that no decision that a Tim Walz or a Mayor Fry or Gavin Newsom or J.B. Pritzker or whomever, why did none of their decisions ever put Americans first? Why did none of their decisions ever put the people of their city first? I don't believe at all that all Democrats are anti-American. I don't. But why are so many of them? Why do they feel the need to apologize for America and bend over backwards to make it better for others who are here than it is for our own people? Our own citizens who are here. That's a genuine, I don't know how you get there from a mindset. Now, Tim Walz himself, I'm as American as they come, USA, USA. I hear what you're saying, or maybe I see what you're saying, but I can't hear what you're saying because your actions are so loud. Why is it always somebody else first? Like, for whatever your differences are with Donald Trump, for whatever you may not like about him in terms of his delivery or his tweets or what, at least you have a president that cares about the country that he has been elected to run. Can't say that in a lot of the cities and a lot of the states right now. It just doesn't make any sense. We're back with you right after this.
Now it's come to what you want to have. From the Bennett Glass Track.
You're waking up to what matters. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
I was 3 days short of pulling out of Kingsport. I was headed down to Houston town. Had a guitar pack and a burlap sack for exploiting my country sound. I bypassed Jackson, bypassed Memphis. By the time I got to Arkansas, I'd sold my car and that black guitar for anything cool and tall. So I pulled up to a neon sign on Highway 49.
Back with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. You have the dream of owning land, maybe a big place where you can make the hunting rules all yourself. Maybe a smaller tract of land where you just want to build a house, maybe your dream home, or build a cabin to have a place to get away. Maybe you recognize land as a great investment. Any of those things or any other things related to land apply to you, I encourage you to check in with my friends at David Fisher Land Company. Their website is davidfisherland.com. David Fisher Land Company is based in Inverness in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, but they service all of Mississippi, Arkansas, and Louisiana. David Fisher Land Company has 40 years of experience in farm and recreational land brokerage, land appraisals, and farmland management. Whether you're looking for 100 acres or several thousand acres or an equity share in a hunting club from DeSoto County to the South Delta, David Fisher Land Company is ready to earn your business. Check out some of the listings on their website. They are spectacular. I might be giving them a call tomorrow after I win that Powerball tonight. DavidFisherland.com. DavidFisherland.com. Check in with David, Jack, or Travis. Love for you to tell them that you heard about them right here on Mornings with Richard Cross. DavidFisherland.com. One of the elections on the national level that people were really zeroed in on yesterday was in the state of Tennessee. Matt Van Epps won a nationally watched special election for a U.S. House seat yesterday with the help from Donald Trump. And the assist from Donald Trump into local races has had mixed results. There are times when that endorsement, a little bit of campaigning, a tweet, a post, can get you over the finish line, and there are times where it seems to either have no effect or perhaps even be a detriment. The opponent was Afton Bain. She is a Democrat state representative that talked openly about her disdain for the city of Nashville, for the Republicans, for the president. She was a fairly radical candidate for the Democrats. And while Democrats desperately wanted to win that seat, I wonder if Afton Bain was a little bit of a test case. Or at least there are people within the Democrat Party looking at that going, how far left can we push this thing and win in a place like Tennessee? The comparatively slim margin of victory fueled Democrat hopes for next year's midterms as the party grasps for a path back to power in Washington. Matt Van Epps was a military veteran, a former state general services commissioner from Nashville. With 99% of the votes counted, Van Epps' lead was around 9 points. So a 54-45-ish victory, which is significant, except for the fact that the previous Republican who held the seat won by 21 points last year, and Trump carried the district by 22 points. This Afton Bain, who ran as an unapologetic progressive, ran up a huge margin in Davidson County, which is the most Democratic county in the district and home to the city of Nashville. Van Epps carried the rest of the district, including many deep red counties throughout central Tennessee, and he tied himself tightly to Donald Trump. Van Epps said in his victory speech at his victory party last night, politicians who run from the president or abandon the common sense policies that the American people gave us a resounding mandate on do so at their own peril. No matter what the D.C. insiders or liberal media say, this is President Trump's party. Proud to be part of it and can't wait to get to work. Trump congratulated Van Epps on the win yesterday. This is not new. It is not breaking. But it is staggering when you think about the difference in voters from cities versus non-big cities. I don't know if you can find a Lance, what would the cutoff number be? And I'm sure there's an exception. But if we say cities with a population north of 500,000, maybe 250,000. But if you say American cities with a population of 500,000 or more, how many of them would vote Republican?
Zero.
Maybe zero?
I mean, I would start with zero, work your way up from there.
It doesn't feel like it would be more than a handful. I mean, if Nashville, a deep South city, is going to go over the top for a Democrat candidate, progressive, out there Democrat candidate. Atlanta, deep South. I mean, Jackson doesn't fit the criteria population-wise that I gave you just a second ago, but Democrat, Memphis, Democrat, Little Rock, Democrat, Austin, Dallas, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, The list goes on and on and on and on and on.
I think if you confined it just to the city limits, yeah, you would have zero. But if you, obviously, some of those would spill out into the suburbs, would likely water it down a little bit, but I don't think you would get one if you just went with the city itself, yeah. In my gut feeling.
I'm wondering if Huntsville, city that we talked about yesterday with the governor, but I mean, you would think about the makeup of the city of Huntsville. It is high socioeconomic, like salary level, highly educated city, big tech city, big. I don't know.
I'd say not nearly indicative of other metropolitan centers. It is definitely got a different feel and flavor to what they're doing there than as we've seen the larger cities develop. Huntsville in that area is just almost brand new. It's like a new toy.
Yeah. But it's just so different. So here's what I'm getting at. The thought exercise that I'm kind of working through as we talk about this is you have concentrated population centers of Democrats. All of the big cities in the United States are concentrated population centers. But then when you take that national map that is colored red and blue, you're like, oh, there's some blue there and some blue there and some blue there and some blue there, and everything else is red. Here's the thought exercise. If you scattered those Democrats across the red United States equally, where you didn't have concentration of single party, like if there was an even distribution population-wise across 50 states and 300 cities, how would elections shake out? Would we be purple? Would the whole country be red? Would spreading the Democrats out dilute their ability to win? Or would it balance things out? And would we be a better country if we didn't have mass population in coastal areas, East Coast, West Coast, big cities, where it's all Democrat in those spots and then the whole rest of the country is Republican? I'm not trying to be all deep thoughts on you this morning, but it's interesting thought. Interesting thought exercise. What would it look like if you spread the people of Minneapolis out across the entire state of Minnesota? If you spread the population of New York City across the entire state of New York, which is vastly, the state of New York is so vastly different from New York City itself, it's almost incomprehensible. Kelly Bennett will join us next. Multimedia journalist with our SuperTalk Mississippi news team. Glad to be with you this morning. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
From theseabrook.com.
And Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
When they ask where you heard it, you tell them.
I know you heard it right here.
Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi.
I just passed a Jimmy and a white. I've been a passing everything in sight. 6 days on the road and I'm gonna make it home tonight. But it seems like a month since I kissed my baby goodbye. I could have a lot of women, but I'm not like some other guy.
Good to be with you this morning. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. I'm not laughing at any. I'll share this. I was checking to make sure that our guest at the top of the next hour was good to go, and Lance, Keith Carter said he got distracted because he had a big buck in his yard this morning that was chasing a doe, and that buck owes his life to us. because he had agreed to come on with us coming up in just a little while.
He would be cleaning a deer about now. Yeah.
I was laughing about that as we were coming. I'm not laughing at Kelly Bennett. She was up late. She gets up early. She covers all the elections in Mississippi. She's part of the SuperTalk Mississippi news team. Kelly, good morning.
She's freezing. That's what she is. It's not supposed to get into the 30s down here, Richard.
Well,
but it did.
I'm sorry. So what was the temperature when you walked in the building this morning? Outside?
37. So they were saying
that's pretty
frost,
cold on the coast.
And the frost didn't exactly happen. You know, it's funny down here when it gets into the 30s on the coast. We all start looking around going, okay, is it going to be into the 30s for an hour? Like, are plants going to take it for an hour? Or is it going to be like an all-night thing where we actually need to bring them in? I mean, that's the kind of conversations we have down here. So,
I understand.
Yeah.
I understand.
Up north, y'all are hunting and, like, loving the cold weather, I'm sure.
I explained it to somebody yesterday. I said, I've just about reached the point in my life where I want to go to winter. I don't want winter to come to me. Like,
there you go. Yeah.
I might want to go on a ski trip or might want to go on a hunting trip somewhere where it's cold or just, go and see the scenery and the crispness. I think I'm kind of over the 30s for the highs where I live. I don't really want that to come to me anymore. Maybe I need to explore the coast like you.
I can tell you're a decade younger than me because I hit that about a decade ago. I was like, okay, enough. All right.
There you go.
I'm done.
All right.
Yes,
so
we did have some.
We did. There were a couple of seats in the legislature that were up for grabs and some contested races. Let's start with turnout. It was expected to be low. Was it as low as expected or worse?
I didn't even look. I just saw low, and I was like, okay, that was expected. So
it was very much a turnout day yesterday.
It was a low turnout day for sure. You got to have a president running to get people to go to the polls for some reason. They're just not interested when it comes to these smaller races, no matter how much Michael Watson tries to make the point, hey, these school board guys can raise your taxes, they have a big impact. And, being a news junkie like I am, I've always thought all politics are local, it all comes together in one big puzzle and has an effect on you. So no, turnout was pretty low, but in Senate District 26, which includes parts of Hinds and Madison counties, Kamisha Mumford defeated Letitia Johnson for the seat that was previously held by now Jackson Mayor John Horn. Mumford, an attorney and municipal court judge who says she's ready to jump right in.
Well, the immediate course of action is me, of course, meeting with our lieutenant governor. I know there will have to be some committee assignments for me. I'll continue to meet with those folks in my district, and then I've got to get up to speed with our legislative agenda. I have some things on my agenda as well.
Some of her priorities include addressing blight, improving infrastructure, and giving teachers pay raises. She defeated Letitia Johnson, also an attorney and former president of the Jackson Public School Board of Trustees, with roughly 56% of the vote. So that was pretty close. Justin Pope defeated Carisha. Go back.
I just was gonna jump in. This was obviously two Democrat women who were running for that seat.
Correct.
There were some pretty interested observers from the Republican side because some of the people that I talked to said there is a significant difference in Ms. Mumford and Ms. Jones. Like, really? Mumford, who won this, certainly is a Democrat and is going to caucus with the Democrats, but appeared to be far more reasonable and far closer to the middle than her opponent. So that's an interesting result. Yeah, and I'm wondering how many people that identify as Republicans, consider themselves Republicans, actually went and voted for Ms. Mumford. I don't know.
True. Yeah, that was an interesting race. I got to tell you, though, I've been pretty pleased with the new Jackson mayor, John Horn, the former senator.
Sure.
That seat now filled, but he's been doing such a great job, really hit the ground running. So we had another race where Justin Pope defeated Carisha Brown. This is Senate District 24, parts of LaFleur, Tallahatchie, and Panola counties. Now, Pope is a corporate deputy with Progressive Help Group, a company that's focused on rejuvenating rural hospitals. And he says he plans to use that experience to help when it comes to access to health care.
District 24, this wasn't an I win, this was a we win. We go come together and build District 24 up. So get ready, put your jacket on, put your shoes on. We finna work. District 24 is about to blow, grow up. So get ready, District 24. You have a senator that's ready to get to work. That's all I know how to do.
And Brown, a retired educator.
Grow up, he said.
Yes. I'm not used to having a back and forth when I do news stories, Richard. I apologize.
Okay.
I need to wait for you to go. Roughly 54% of the vote there in that defeat, so that one was pretty close as well. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what these guys do. Now, I should give everybody a little bit of background because some people aren't aware. The runoffs capped off a cycle that saw 14 seats in the House and Senate go up for grabs. This happened after a federal panel of judges ordered lawmakers to redraw districts in areas of the state where they thought black voting power was being diluted. 3 additional seats, 2 of which were the ones won by Pope and Mumford, were actually left vacant by members who left before their terms were up. For those 3, candidates weren't allowed to run under a party label. We all know what the labels are, but they weren't allowed to officially declare it. Pope and Mumford both expected to serve as Democrats, as you said. And Otho Williams, who won a House seat last month, which is previously held by now Clarksdale Mayor Orlando Payton, is also expected to serve as a Democrat, which furthers the minority party's capitalization on this year's special elections. They've had the results you would absolutely expect with a judge's ruling like that. We still got that Supreme Court case out of Louisiana, though, and it's going to be interesting to see. I really haven't heard a lot of interest from lawmakers in redrawing lines depending on the decision on congressional mapping. So we'll see what happens there, but that Supreme Court decision could actually have an impact down the road.
Yeah, I've talked to a number of people about that. Shame on me for not asking Governor Reeves about that yesterday. It's just something that completely slipped my mind. We went. I know. I just now thought about that.
You know what? Though,
completely dropped it.
I loved his comment on Lane Kiffin when he was.
Well, yeah. Hey, Richard, you didn't ask the governor about redrawing district, congressional lines, but hey, at least you asked him about Lane Kiffin. Nice job.
Well,
I can't believe I forgot that.
I mean, Kiffin's been in the news. It's been, who was it? I think it was Chancellor Boyce. No, it wasn't Chancellor Boyce. I can't remember who it was that said it's been all Kiffin all the time. And it just gets in your head, and it's hard to get it out when that's a hot story. Things start to surround it. So I totally get it.
Kelly, thanks as always for your time and for your work. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Y'all stay warm.
Hey, you too. Have a great day. Kelly Bennett, part of the SuperTalk Mississippi news team, a multimedia, multi-talented journalist. You heard her say she makes her home on the coast where it was cold this morning. I mean, you walk out of your house in, I don't know, Senatobia, and it's 24. You're like, man, it's cold. But it's not like a foreign concept. You walk out of the back door in Ocean Springs and it's 34, 36. Like, what planet am I on? Perhaps you've been waiting for it. We're going to give it to you next. Raccoon goes on drunken rampage in Virginia liquor store and passes out on the bathroom floor. What? No, it was not Lance dressed up as a raccoon. I don't think. Give you the details coming up next. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
Venable Glass.
SuperTalk Mississippi.
You heard it here first.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Here comes the...
Well, preacher man talking on TV, cutting down my rock and roll. He wants me to send a donation, says he's worried about my soul. Now Jesus walked on the water. Lord, you know.
Here in the market for a new or previously owned vehicle, especially a truck, Belk Ford and Oxford Toyota has got you covered. Great selection on the lot right now and some really, really good year-end sales event pricing. You'll find some of the best prices of the year to go along with the best interest rates of this entire calendar year by a long shot, including 0% for 60 months on a new Ford F-150. There are also some rebate options that you can get with kind of sliding interest rate scales, but still interest rates much lower than they have been on new vehicles. But you don't really go to Belk Ford or Oxford Toyota because of the selection. You don't really go because of the interest rates or the financing. You go because of the people. The Belk family has been in the automobile industry for over 100 years. Their service department is second to none. Not only do they have the kind of routine, normal service department that you would expect at an automobile dealership, they have got a top-notch diesel mechanic, diesel service department. You know those are hard to work on. Sometimes it's hard to find people to work on them. Belk Ford can help you with that. Stop by and see them. Tell them that you heard about them on Mornings with Richard Cross. Doesn't matter where in Mississippi or even outside of Mississippi you live, they'd love the opportunity to earn your business. We've had listeners from outside the state, in Texas, in Arkansas, in Alabama, and other places, South Mississippi, that have made the drive, and it has been well worth their while. That's Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, Highway 6 West in Oxford. The masked burglar broke into the closed Virginia liquor store early on Saturday and hit the bottom shelf, where the scotch and the whiskey were stored. The bandit was something of a nocturnal menace. Bottles were smashed, a ceiling tile collapsed, and alcohol pooled on the floor. The suspect acted like an animal because, in fact, he was a raccoon, to be specific. On Saturday morning, an employee at the Ashland, Virginia area liquor store found the trash panda passed out on the bathroom floor at the end of his drunken escapade. Samantha Martin, an officer who works at the local animal control office, said, "I personally like raccoons. They're funny little critters." He fell through one of the ceiling tiles and went on a full-blown rampage, drinking everything. Martin took the raccoon back to the animal shelter, though she had her fair share of giggles along the way. The Hanover County Animal Protection and Shelter commended Martin for handling the break-in and confirmed that the raccoon had sobered up. After a few hours of sleep and zero signs of injury other than maybe a hangover and poor life choices, he was safely released back into the wild, hopefully having learned that breaking and entering is not the answer, the agency said.
Send him to AA.
Raccoon comes crashing through the ceiling, breaks shelves, breaks bottles onto the floor, drinks all the liquor spilled on the floor, and ends up passed out in the bathroom. Lance, the comments were the best.
Oh, I can imagine.
Something tells me this was not his first time.
Yeah. Somebody's been searching for that guy and wondering, who is this dude? He's really slick, keeps missing the cameras, drinks up everything, and then takes off. Find out it's a raccoon? Man, that's a smart raccoon.
One comment in response to the story was, "Same, brother raccoon, same."
Yeah.
Another said, "Praying to the porcelain, I'll never do this again." Oh, me. Good stuff. Good stuff there. The raccoon. Genteel is the official apparel provider of SuperTalk Mississippi. You can find them online at genteelapparel.com. They're coming off a big Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, and they've got so much good stuff as we go into the holiday season on their website, including a gift guide. You can see some of their suggestions, some of the great stuff they've got right now, and get 10% off. All you got to do is enter your email address. They'll send you some offers and give you a heads up with what's going on in the future. The website is genteelapparel.com. I personally can vouch for the quality of their product. Love their outerwear. Love their shorts. The pants are great as well. genteelapparel.com, the official apparel provider of SuperTalk Mississippi. 8 o'clock hour on the way. It's going to be a busy 8 o'clock hour. Starting when we come back, we'll be joined by the athletics director at Ole Miss, Keith Carter. We will talk. We got a lot of ground to cover with him. Not only do you have the Lane Kiffin out, Pete Golding in, revamping the football staff news and story and all of the stuff that goes along with that, you've also got Ole Miss securing a home game last night in the college football playoff, and a lot going on there. Also, in the 8 o'clock hour, Erik Skaggs, president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing Mississippi, will join us, but the news is next. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
Your home.
Check this out. Now, what can be offered to you?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Information.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Yonder comes a gal of mine. How do you think I know? Not by the gingham gown, hang down so low. I'm the big homeless man, corn feeding on each.
Welcome to the 8 o'clock hour, Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm, Supertalk TV, and of course on a dozen Super Talk Mississippi radio stations all across the state. Mornings with Richard Cross is presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. For those of you joining us for the very first time, perhaps outside the state of Mississippi, welcome. Come back anytime. Keith Carter is my guest, athletics director at Ole Miss, and he has been a fairly busy fellow for the last few weeks. Unprecedented is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot, defined as never done or known before. It's probably an overused word, but in the last few weeks at Ole Miss, it may be the right word to describe what this coaching changeover time has looked like at Ole Miss. Keith, I appreciate some of your time. I know a lot of people really anxious to hear from you this morning. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, glad to be here, Richard.
Is unprecedented the right word when you look at a coach choosing to leave a team that is likely a playoff team to go through a very public changeover and then have all of the stuff that goes along with that?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. I don't think we've seen it before, and our team, obviously ranked 6th now, has a chance to just as good a chance as anybody to go win a national championship. And so, for me, it's if the thought is you have to go somewhere else to win a national championship, well, man, in the next 3 or 4 weeks we have a chance to do one right here. So I think unprecedented is a good way to put it. There was a lot of things that happened behind the scenes that were unprecedented as well. But, we're focused on Ole Miss now. And, obviously, the thing that really was the frustrating part to me more than anything was the fact that, the focus was taken off of these players and off of our student athletes. And, we have some of the best stories in college football this year right on our team. Obviously 11-1, and, man, it's just awesome now to put the focus back on the guys and focus on this playoff run.
That's a similar message to what Chancellor Gwen Boyce gave last week, was a focus on the team and the assistant coaches that had worked so hard to kind of keep the team focused and together. We may jump around a little bit. There's a lot of ground to cover. Last night, the college football playoff rankings came out, the penultimate rankings. The final ones will come out on Sunday. There are a lot of people that say the next to last set of rankings are the most important because you don't see a ton of movement after championship weekend. What was your level of deep breath, exhale, maybe legitimately smile for the first time in a couple of weeks when you saw Ole Miss pop up at number 6 last night?
Well, it was fantastic. And again, so much credit to our guys, to the players first and foremost, and then obviously Pete and the staff. But yeah, it was awesome. You know, we were doing a ton of work behind the scenes, you know, working with committee members, just making sure that they had all the information on who was going to coach our team, who was going to be, you know, in the building, preparing our team, those type of things. Obviously the league office, you know, knew that information. They were helping as well. And so we felt pretty good about the feedback we were getting, that we were not going to necessarily be penalized for Coach Kiffin leaving, as long as we had, you know, a great plan in place. And obviously the team's still there, all intact, and, you know, couldn't be more excited about Coach Golding and him leading the way. So, you know, I know some of our fans and people were a little anxious out there yesterday, as were we, but we knew we were talking to the right people, and, you know, we were getting the feedback that we thought, you know, was good.
There was some criticism, and maybe less criticism and more frustration among Ole Miss fans about feeling like they didn't know anything between Sunday, when you announced that Pete Golding was going to be the next head coach, and an expected press conference today that has since been canceled because Pete announced last night he wanted to focus on recruiting and also getting ready for the playoff, and said he would talk Sunday after the final rankings came out. What was your media strategy? What was your information strategy? Did you need, 48 hours or so to try and put things together behind the scenes? And tell us a little bit more about how you were able to lean on the committee or have people advocate for you.
Yeah, you know, it's a great question. And I think, you know, sometimes there's things that have to be done kind of behind the curtain that, you know, unfortunately we just can't put out there, and we can't give an update every hour, you know, at the top of the hour and those type of things. And so we were working, you know, mainly on solidifying our staff, you know, and who was going to be here to coach the team and those type of things. We feel like we had a good plan, but at the end of the day, you know, we're working with, you know, a couple of coaches, at least one coach that, you know, had got on a plane to Baton Rouge, and so we're working on getting him back, which we announced yesterday with Coach Weiss. And so, you know, I understand when there's a void of information, it gets filled with all kinds of things and rumors and angst and all of that. But you know, we were working, you know, slow and steady behind the scenes, and you know, that's where you just have to ask your fan base and your donors just to, you know, trust the process and know that, you know, we're going to get the information out when we can. And I think we have a pretty good track record of getting things right. And so, you know, I feel like yesterday afternoon when we were able to make that announcement that this is our staff, you know, our goal was obviously to get that out before the rankings, last night, even though we were doing the work behind the scenes with phone calls and those type of things. But, you know, hopefully yesterday was a big day for us. Obviously we got that out. You get the ranking you want. You introduce Coach Golding at the basketball game, and, you know, everybody loves that. We bring the team out. We have a couple of winners, you know, down in Jackson last night at the Conerly Trophy with Trinidad and Patrick Kudas. So I think yesterday was a pretty strong media day for us. But at the same time, you know, we do apologize to sometimes, you know, when you can't get anything, you know, out exactly at the timing, you know, that people might want it.
There have been a couple of things that people looked very, very closely at. First, the statement that the university put out, I guess it was Thursday or Friday a week ago, where you said there was an expected announcement coming following the Saturday following the Mississippi State game, which happened on Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. And people felt like that kind of painted you and Lane Kiffin also into a corner. And then because people were expecting an announcement of some sort on that Saturday, you had national media that followed Ole Miss from Starkville to Oxford, that were camped out across from the chancellor's house, that were trying to keep up with every move that was happening. Marty Smith was embedded in Oxford for didn't sleep for 36 hours. What can you tell us about that Saturday and the long meeting that you had with Lane Kiffin, with the chancellor there, and when you made the decision ultimately that Pete Golding was going to be the next head coach?
Yeah, and again, you know, the unprecedented part kind of comes back into this too. And, you know, obviously, you know, the week of the Egg Bowl, you know, Coach Kiffin is our coach. You know, he's Ole Miss's coach at that time. And we had talked and said, you know, we have to have an answer on the Saturday after the Egg Bowl. And you know, I think, that decision, in hindsight was a good one. We played great, played really well in the game. And that was the thing. I was at practice every day that week leading up to the Egg Bowl. We had people in the building. The assistant coaches did a fantastic job. And again, most importantly, our players really locked in. And I give them a ton of credit for that last 4 or 5 weeks of the season and how they locked in and won the games. And, didn't turn this into 2022 when the distractions really cost us a really strong finish. So give the players a lot of credit. But that Saturday, we get back and, I'm up at the office pretty much all day. And ultimately the meeting doesn't happen until around 6 p.m. And, I'm informed officially that Coach is going to LSU. And, Pete Golding was a guy that was always in the mix with us. He's a guy that has been here for 3 years. He's got a great track record, coaching obviously at Alabama and winning national championships. And, Pete's a guy in that building that everybody respects. And not just the defense, the offensive guys, the offensive staff, they loved him. And so he was a guy that has always been, on our radar as it could be the guy. And so we called Pete in and said, hey, we want you to be not only our guy in the short term, to help us solidify this, but also we think you're the guy that can keep Ole Miss football, at a super high level and even maybe take it to the next level. So, but yeah, again, you talk about the void of information. I know Saturday was one of those days, and for me, it was a long day. We ended up staying in the office here at about 3 a.m. that night, and trying to get some things done. But it was one of those deals. As soon as Coach Kiffin told us that he was moving on, we had a great plan in place, and I feel like it was implemented well on Sunday, and Pete's just done a fantastic job, really, in the last 3 days of bringing that building together and putting the staff back together, and obviously the players are super fired up.
When was Lane Kiffin told that he would not coach Ole Miss in the playoff? Because he very publicly has said over and over that is something that he wanted to do and didn't seem to be able to understand why that wasn't going to work.
Yeah, there's been a lot of things he said publicly that I'm not sure are totally accurate. I think that both Coach and his representation knew, several weeks ago that the coaching in the playoffs was not going to be an option if he was not the Ole Miss head coach. And,
him finding out at 8:30 on Sunday morning for the very first time that he would not be coaching the playoff is not accurate?
No, that's not accurate. That's not accurate. The only thing that was a little bit of a wrinkle in it, Richard, was the fact that if Auburn had beaten Alabama, we were going to play in the SEC championship. That threw a little wrinkle in it. Not to say he would have coached in that game, but with the shorter time period, that was maybe the only little nuance to it. But absolutely, it was very clear that coaching in the postseason was not going to be an option for Coach Kiffin a few weeks ago.
We got to take a quick time out. We're back with more with Keith Carter, athletics director at Ole Miss, right after this.
From the Venable Glass Track.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
The monitor switch lets you hear breaking news.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Keith Carter is my guest, athletics director at the University of Mississippi. This is Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. A little truth versus fiction, a statement that Lane Kiffin's vehicle was run off the road by Ole Miss fans on the way to the airport. Can you shed any light on that?
No, but I did see where Sean Tyndall shed some light on it yesterday. That's about all I know. I don't know about that. I mean, I saw the interview, obviously, but I have a feeling that goes along with some other things that have been said, here in the last 72 hours from Coach.
Lane Kiffin said players begged for him to stay and coach into the playoff. We have seen quotes or I guess posts on X from some players that said that is simply not accurate. You did have a meeting with the Leadership Council, a group of football players that kind of represent the rest of the team on Sunday morning. Can you tell us about that meeting with them and what the players' reaction was and this idea that they were begging for Lane Kiffin to stay?
Well, I don't want to, breach some of the confidentiality of those guys. I mean, I know, man, first of all, let me just say the leadership group of our football team is an amazing group of young men. They were fantastic and have been. I know most of those guys, and to spend some time with them on Sunday morning was great. I'll let them kind of tweet out what they want to tweet out and give information that they want to give. But I don't think the way he portrayed that meeting was accurate. There was a lot of pushback to him leaving. And, it was really one of those things where, these guys knew they needed coaches to coach the game, Richard, and it was sounding like he was going to take, all the offensive staff with him if they didn't, he didn't coach in the game. And so there was a lot of discussion around that, but I think begging for him to stay is certainly an overstatement. I think that, our players are starting to show, maybe what really happened in that meeting.
How did the Charlie Weiss Jr. situation play out? He did get on that plane and go to Baton Rouge, but you mentioned a few minutes ago the announcement came out yesterday that he was returning, would be the primary play caller for the playoffs. It feels like maybe there's a little bit of ambiguity about his future beyond the playoffs. What can you tell us about that?
Well, first let me say this. Charlie Weiss is a really, really good person. And Charlie is a really, really good offensive play caller. And so we had been talking to Charlie about, coming back and calling the plays. Charlie was committed to that from the very first moment. And, honestly, I think Charlie was put in a little bit of a tough spot with some of the way, he was asked to go to Baton Rouge and those type of things. But, man, I could not be more fired up about having Charlie Weiss back here. We were in constant communication, not only with Charlie, but with his representation. He was telling us from the very get-go that he was going to come back and call the plays, and he was not going to leave this team, on this playoff run. So, all of our fans and all of our donors, they can be very assured that, Charlie Weiss is going to come back and do the very best job he can to help us, go down this stretch and win a national championship. So a lot of credit to him for the way he's doing this. And, man, I can't wait to get him back here. And the guys feel the same way. Trinidad and Kiwan, all the guys, they're really, really excited to get Charlie back.
In today's National Signing Day, there's a lot of recruiting that is going on. Is there a scenario where Charlie Weiss could be recruited to stay at Ole Miss beyond just whatever this playoff run turns out to be?
We're not focused on that right now, Richard. We're focused on, like I said, getting this staff back together, getting the team solidified, making sure they know what they're dealing with here over the next, 18 days until we play, our first ever college football playoff game. Those are conversations we can have, down the road. But, again, I think what's so great about Pete Golding, the very first thing he did is he said, hey, we've got to start thinking about these players. We've got to start thinking about these guys and putting the focus back on these guys. And making sure they have clarity on who's going to be coaching them down this stretch and making sure that we do everything we possibly can to give our best effort to give these guys the best chance to win.
Things moved quickly on Sunday morning, and I don't just mean at Ole Miss. You weren't operating in a bubble. There were a lot of things that were happening within the SEC footprint and nationally in terms of jobs that were being filled, jobs that have been open. How much did Pete Golding sell you on being the head coach beyond just, hey, this is a guy that makes sense because players like him and he's done a good job and he's got a good background?
Well, Pete and I had several conversations, obviously, and, obviously been around Pete, know Pete, he's been here for 3 years. Pete had a great plan, and I think we're actually seeing that plan implemented now. More in a temporary form, obviously putting the staff together for this run. But man, his plan for Ole Miss, his plan for the future, it's phenomenal. And we did cancel the press conference today at Pete's request, and it's all about the fact that hey, we're not starting something new today. We don't run out there and put a suit on and kiss babies and start something today. We're going to finish something. And I think that was Pete's main thing is time to put the back on the players. We got recruiting today. We're jumping on game planning right after that. And so I'm super excited about not only the short term and what Pete brings to the table, but man, I think we're looking for a very solidified and just a great run for Ole Miss football that's coming in the future.
There was a lot of thought that you would name an interim head coach to get through the playoff or to kind of get through the immediate window and then would figure out the permanent situation. Was that on the table? And if it was, when did you switch from the idea of interim to permanent with Pete Golding?
Yeah, Richard, in any situation, you kind of assess and you look at all possibilities and all options. And certainly that was an option to name an interim. But, the more myself and the chancellor thought about it, why do that when we have the guy who we know is the guy right in front of us? And so, we decided to go ahead and make the move, make Pete the permanent coach. And, again, I think that helps us today with signing day to know, hey, this is going to be the guy. But more importantly, I think it just helps us for the future. It's a guy that knows Ole Miss, has worked to get himself back here. His family loves it here. He wants to be here. He wants to grow this place. And I think it's something that, is very refreshing. And, he jumped right in and said, hey, I'm ready to take this on short term and long term. And again, I couldn't be more excited. The chancellor couldn't be more excited.
I want to ask you a question about Glenn Boyce. Since he has been chancellor at Ole Miss, he has operated, for the most part, pretty quietly, almost in the shadows. And sometimes people see that, and if they don't see somebody out very publicly a lot all the time, they almost say that's a sign of weakness. With the conversation that we had last week, it did not feel like there was a lot of weakness in terms of Glenn Boyce. What role did he play? Obviously, he was involved in the Friday meeting a week and a half ago, and then was very involved again on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've ever associated the word weak with Glenn Boyce. That would probably be the farthest word, from him. He's an awesome leader. Obviously we worked together for 6 years. I couldn't ask for a better boss and partner to work with through this. He's just been great. He's been a steady hand. He's got a lot of experience, not only in academia, but in sports and athletics. Obviously he was a huge part of conversations throughout this whole thing. And when Lane and I met on Saturday night, Glenn was actually not at that meeting on Saturday night. But when we got back together on Sunday morning, he was obviously a huge part of where we went and the decisions that we made. But, don't take the fact that maybe you don't see him on Twitter or you don't see him out in front a lot. He is an incredible leader. Our university is very fortunate to have him. And I think about it every day that, what would this job that I do be like if he was not the guy? Because he's just a great person to work with.
Couple of minutes left. I want to try and squeeze in 2 or 3 things that are practical. And as Ole Miss fans, attention is shifting from coaching search, who's next, to playoff. What is the ticket process for the college football playoff game that will happen in Oxford on either the 19th or the 20th of December?
So I believe those will go on sale Sunday after the final announcement. All of our current season ticket holders will have first right of refusal to get their tickets. Okay. We're going to sell 13,000 student tickets that will be first come, first serve. So not just the ones that got season tickets this year. It will be first come, first serve. So that'll allow everybody to be in the mix for that. But yeah, I think we have to give 3,500 to the visiting team. So, we're expecting obviously a huge crowd. Oxford's going to be electric, and that's the other part. Just really happy that the committee did this the right way and did what we deserve for the city of Oxford. And what it means for this great city that we live in.
And then last thing for you, campus closes during Christmas break. Is there any scenario where student housing will be available to students during that time to be able to come back and have somewhere to stay?
Back to Chancellor Boyce, absolutely. Campus will be running full steam ahead.
Oh, wow.
Dorms are open, housing's open. We'll be ready to roll.
Outstanding. Keith Carter, thanks so much for your time this morning. I know it's been a tough few weeks for you. Maybe you can find time to get in the deer stand soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Richard. Good to catch up.
You as well. Keith Carter, Athletics Director at Ole Miss. What a few weeks it has been. We're back with you right after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
From the Seabrook Diner.
MRC. Mornings with Richard Cross.
Let's get on with the show.
Check it out. SuperTalk, Mississippi.
It's a holy place. My dad showed me.
here. The 7 o'clock hour this morning was brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, and payroll, you're not alone. That's where MWG Employer Services comes in. They can provide a full range of employer services plus a custom plan that fits you. Give them a call today, 601-206-7966, or go to MWGEmployerServices.com. Glad to be with you this morning. Appreciate Keith Carter, Athletics Director at Ole Miss, joining us. I knew I was going to forget something. I'd made some bullets on some things I wanted to hit. I forgot to ask Keith about Juice. I intended to ask him about Juice Kiffin, the dog, and the legend that has become. But, oh well, maybe another time. We're going to stick with a guest right now. Erik Skaggs joins us right now. He is president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing, Mississippi. Erik, I appreciate some of your time. I remember sitting in the auditorium at Tupelo High School on the day that the Toyota plant, the Blue Springs location, was announced. I think the governor was there. If I remember, Senator Trent Lott was there and made a proclamation that he was going to be first in line to buy a Toyota Highlander, which I think was going to be the first vehicle that rolled off the assembly line there. It's hard to believe how long ago that's been and what a big part of the economic engine in the state of Mississippi that Toyota has become. Good morning. Thanks so much for spending some time with us.
Good morning, Richard. Happy to be here and appreciate you having me today.
Talk to me a little bit about the evolution of Toyota in Blue Springs from where it started to where it is now.
Yeah, you kind of touched on a little bit of it there. We broke ground back in 2007, and we had planned to start with the Highlander, as you mentioned. Of course, we all remember we were faced with the economic downturn, which slowed our start of production a little bit, but we didn't give up. We stuck to our plan to have production here. Eventually started production in 2011 with the Toyota Corolla, and then our team members were able to focus on training and development to prepare for that start of production. And we've been running strong ever since. We're on pace. We're on pace to make almost 190,000 vehicles this year. So a really strong year for the Corolla. Wow. High demand, and we're happy to be making the Corolla for our customers out there.
Do you have any idea how many vehicles have come off the assembly line at Toyota in Blue Springs since the plant first opened?
I know last September we celebrated the production of our 2 millionth unit, and we're on pace for almost 190,000 this year, so we're getting close to 2.2 million.
It really is an incredible number. The automobile industry, from a production and a manufacturing standpoint, has changed dramatically, and I feel like probably is even changing in real time. In terms of the way the vehicles are produced within the Toyota facility, how has that evolved in the 15 years, give or take, that Toyota's been open here?
At the core of it, it's still all about our team members. We have amazing team members here who, show up and make it happen every day. And if you pair that with the training and development that Toyota offers, it's really amazing the things that can be done here. And so, as you mentioned, evolution maybe is a good word for that. Through our continual team member driven Kaizens, we're able to improve our processes and make the Corolla a very high quality vehicle for our customers. We also are adopting some team member, everything from low cost, low tech Kaizens that are very effective. And then we're also starting to look at more digitalization so that team members are able to spend more time focusing on the key elements of their job, the value added portion of their work.
I think you said Kaizens. I'm not familiar with that. What is that?
Kaizen's a Japanese term for continual improvement. And so the Toyota way, or the values that we live by, is respect for people and continuous improvement. And so the Japanese term for that is Kaizen.
What is the influence of Japanese culture within the manufacturing facility there in Tupelo in Blue Springs?
We know the interesting and the great thing about Toyota, I've been blessed to be able to work for Toyota for over 30 years now and be able to go into Toyota plants in many different countries across the globe. And the Toyota DNA is there in the factories, no matter what country you're in. And that goes back to that, the values we live by of respect for people and continuous improvement. So we strive every day to get better than we were before, and also with the respect for people. And then the tools that we apply in our endeavors to do that are the TPS tools. And so there's lots of information out there. I won't turn today's discussion into a TPS discussion, but the principles of having just in time and Jidoka, which is automation with a human touch, are the two primary precepts or concepts, if you will, of the TPS. And then there's various tools that we can apply, and we apply to our processes to be able to make those improvements.
Visiting with Erik Skaggs. He's president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing at Mississippi, and we're talking about all the things that are happening within the Toyota plant here in Mississippi. I used that word evolution a second ago. We've seen that with the vehicles themselves, from all gas-burning vehicles to battery-powered vehicles, and then the hybrid. And that's what this new Corolla, I guess, is kind of the focus, right? The Corolla hybrid. Tell us a little bit about that being added to the lineup in Blue Springs.
Yeah, we're super excited to be able to announce that and be working on the hybrid Corolla. Present day we make the gas Corolla. And so recently we had a $125 million investment announced that will help us bring hybrid Corolla production here to Blue Springs, Mississippi. So that also helps with our stability in a dynamic market for customers who want either one of those powertrains. It also supports Toyota's multi-pathway strategy to offer multiple powertrain types as we make the transition into the future.
Is that a transition away from the gas-burning Corolla, or in addition to? What does that look like within the footprint of your facility?
Yeah, I mean, I think in the short to midterm, we have the multi-pathway. I think is what we see customers desiring and wanting and needing, and so that's the basis of the multi-pathway strategy, is that we will have both of those in our portfolio.
How does that work? Do you have to actually add on to the physical facility and create almost a new assembly line production area, or is it kind of retrofitting the area that you're already using?
Yeah, if I could take a minute, maybe I won't geek out too much, but link it back to a question you asked earlier about how our manufacturing has evolved. So that's a great question. We do need space to be able to add hybrid production. But if we go back to the Kaizens that our team members are doing and the continuous improvement philosophy, we're able to create space within our existing footprint. And so we do have to make some equipment and tooling changes, but we're able to create the space within our footprint to do that without expanding the building, so to speak.
Gotcha. One of the stories since the launch of Toyota, when you talk about economic impact, Toyota itself has a huge impact on the economy in North Mississippi specifically and the state overall. But kind of the ancillary addition, I guess, if you will, is all of the suppliers that have come in, who supply parts and who have added facilities in and around your Blue Springs facility. What are those relationships like between the suppliers who have come in and Toyota proper, if you will?
Yeah, I would say those relationships we see, first and foremost, we look at our suppliers as it's a true partnership. We absolutely can't do what we do here and meet our customers' needs without those suppliers. So we highly value the partnerships that we have with our suppliers. We have many suppliers across the U.S., but we have, as you can imagine, for some of those larger commodities, suppliers that are more locally to us, locally located. And so those suppliers, again, key to us. We work very closely with sharing plans, working on problems together. We need to help each other out in terms of resolving an issue. We very much see that as a partnership. And then, of course, the jobs that it creates for the local community as well. There was a study done some years ago that Toyota Mississippi production here supports over 6,000 jobs in the region.
Wow.
Now, of course, we have 2,400 team members here on site under roof. And if you consider our on-site suppliers and contract hires and things of that nature, service providers, we also have a lot of amenities here on site for our team members. When you add all that up, we have 3,000 members here under roof on a daily basis. So it's a pretty good impact.
Erik, it's an incredible success story in North Mississippi. Toyota has ingrained itself as part of Mississippi and part of the community there in Blue Springs, Tupelo, Pontotoc, New Albany, the surrounding areas. I really appreciate your time this morning. Thanks for the update, and hope we can continue to catch up and keep up with what's happening at Toyota. Thanks so much for your time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Erik Skaggs, he is president of Toyota Motor Manufacturing Mississippi. We will put a bow on this edition of MRC.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
He's got everything you need to know to start your day. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, supertalk.fm, and the SuperTalk Mississippi app. Now, here's more with Richard Cross.
Chased Lady Luck till we finally struck Bonanza. With a gun and a rope and a hat full of hope, we planted our family tree. We got a hold of a pot full of gold Bonanza. With a horse and a saddle and a ring full of cattle, how rich could a fella be?
Don't forget, tomorrow, Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be in Cleveland for the annual 50 Nights of Lights. That's downtown Cleveland. Middays with Gerard Gibbert tomorrow from 10 until 1. Wrapping things up with you on this Wednesday morning, the 3rd of December. Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. I want to go back to something. It was kind of at the very end of the conversation that we had with Keith Carter, but I think it's significant. It has nothing to do with Lane Kiffin leaving or Pete Golding getting the job or whatever. It has to do with the playoff. And Keith Carter said that tickets will go on sale for the playoff game on Sunday night, so still a few days away. Season ticket holders will have first priority to purchase the seats that they have had during the regular season. 3,500 is the allotment for the visiting team. Whomever the visiting team is, they'll have an allotment of 3,500. If you're curious how that compares to the normal allotment for visiting SEC teams, it's smaller. 5,000 is the number of tickets that you have to make available for visiting conference opponents. Sometimes all those tickets are gobbled up. Sometimes you might have an opponent that says, hey, we don't need 5,000, we need 2,500, we need 3,000, in which case some of those tickets come back to Ole Miss. Point being, in a 68,000-plus seat stadium, 65,000 of the fans that will be there, or 60,000, depending on who it is and how many tickets they buy on the secondary market that are available, it will be an overwhelming home field advantage. But the thing that stood out to me, and this is significant, students go home for the Christmas break at the end of next week. So the way the calendar works, students get a week off at Thanksgiving. They come back, they have a week of class. The following week is exams, and then they're done. And if you have been on the Ole Miss campus, or really any college campus during the Christmas break, it turns into a ghost town. They close all of the dorms. All the students have to be out by a certain time. They close all the fraternity houses and all the sorority houses and, all of the on-campus infrastructure, outside of what it just takes for, faculty and staff offices to be open. It all shuts down. And then right around like a couple of days before Christmas through New Year's, basically campus itself just completely closes. That's not going to be the case. students, according to Keith, will have all student housing options available, and campus will be running at full tilt. Now, I don't know exactly what the dates are on that. We're still waiting to find out when Ole Miss will host that game, either Friday, December 19th, or Saturday, December 20th. There are 4 time windows. There's a Friday night game, and then there are 3 games that will be played on Saturday, December 20th. I think one's at 11, and one's at 2:30, and one's at maybe 6:30. Those times may not be exact, but they're close. And so when you make 13,000 student tickets available, and you know that you've got a large population of the students that live on campus, either in dorms or fraternity or sorority houses, reopening those for students to be able to come back and have kind of their place to stay is a big deal. That's actually something that I had asked about a few weeks ago, and Keith told me at the time that it was a conversation that they were having with the chancellor, but it felt like it was moving in the direction that they were going to do that. So it's pretty significant. I mean, obviously everybody's going to be excited, but the student crowd is the part that pushes the stadium to a different level from an atmosphere and an environment standpoint. You heard a lot of people say this will be the biggest sporting event in the history of the state of Mississippi. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I don't think it's exaggeration. It's going to be fascinating to see who the opponent is. Will it be, if you're the 5 seed or the 6 seed, a North Texas, a UNLV, a Virginia, somebody like that? Or does Ole Miss in the final playoff rankings maybe drop to the 7 seed, in which case you get an Alabama or a Notre Dame or someone like that as an opponent? Regardless of who the opponent is, it's going to be a really, really big deal. Appreciate Keith as well. It's the first interview that he has done since the announcement that Pete Golding is now the head coach, that Lane Kiffin is officially out. Kind of him to spend that time with us this morning. And thanks to all of you who jumped on board. I don't know exact numbers, but I'm told that our online audience more than doubled from what it normally is during that interview. Thanks for being with us. We hope you have a great Wednesday. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning just after 6 a.m. For Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Have a great day.
And I won't back down.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.